So does anyone want to comment on last time's session or anything they've been discovering or working with?
So my big discovery of the fortnight was that screwing the ankles is only effective if you really find the inner ankle. And I realized I've been doing it or moved to doing it from lower down, from the sort of the heel, and then the arch actually collapses.
Yes.
So been playing with that.
Yes.
It's been my big realization.
Yes, interesting. That article you gave me on rear foot eversion. I mean, what rear foot eversion means is simply that the talus collapses in.
Right.
But they said they can't measure talus collapsing in. They can measure rear foot eversion, so that's the one they use. But the whole foot, the whole angle, isn't it? But they really would just want to measure the talus.
Yeah.
Yes, if you're working from the talus, that's what happens.
Right.
It falls in, whereas if you work from the malleolus, sorry, not talus, calcaneus.
Calcaneus, yes.
Calcaneus, it's, yeah. Good. It's great to refine exactly where we're thinking, isn't it? It makes all the difference. Yeah, it's precise. Hi, Sarah.
Hello. Hi, good morning, good afternoon.
So anybody else want to comment from last time or? Hi, Anadora.
Hi.
And does everybody know Mari, who's joining us again? Mari did the first.
Yeah, sure.
You Berlin crew do, but Kazuyuki and Alison and Sarah won't. You're in Montana, aren't you? You go between Montana and Argentina?
Yeah, I'm in Montana right now.
In Montana?
Yeah.
So yes, the original OTT and advanced OTT, yeah, and the original fitness course. So yeah, no more comments than last time. So let's get Johannes.
Yeah, so same was. I wasn't reviewing it, but I found that the legs work, as Alison mentioned, got much clearer. And so what you said, wait a okay, went much clearer, and I noticed that the pulling in of the inner ankle, it's just a bit. I have a pupil and she has collapsed feet, and so she tried the other way around, and I worked with her pulling it just gently in, but just for the activation, and seeing that this is lifting up. And if you go too far, you overdo it. And so in my feeling of this area is I just activate with a very small pull, but it helps to get the connection, and then the connection to the big toe and the power in the foot comes, and it's getting clearer over the while. So I had it before, but it's now like this.
Yeah, I think we can get subtler with them with time, can't we? I mean, when we first do these pulls, they are not subtle. And it feels like your legs are working so much harder, and your feet are working so much harder, and they are. And everything's a bit stiff, and you think one's fighting one's own tension and all that. And then as the body eases into it, and as one gets familiar, so it harmonizes, and then you can then just sort of send it a little thought, oh yeah, screw the ankle, and it goes, and, yeah, on a good day.
Yeah. And I feel much more prepared for people. It's the same with forward collapsed people, to tell them to pull the shoulders forward and the sternum forward is the right thing, because it feels that they need the opposite. And it's the same with the feet. Yeah. And so I have to experience in myself what is needed And it's not just this must induce action, but it's not only that.
Yeah, I mean, some people need immensely strong pulls and some people need a small pull. And it is amazing, isn't it, that the same pulls work, whether the shoulders are back or whether they're forwards. Did I tell you that when I was on this healing course a couple of weeks ago, there was a woman there who was on my very first Alexander and Fitness course, and she was completely like this. She was really rounded shouldered. Her mother is, in fact, like that. I've met her mother now, and she was heading to be like her mother. And of course, she'd been told by physios over the years to do that, and it had made no difference. And it took a lot of courage to say, no, just work with this one, with the elbows out and the sternum up. And it certainly started to make a difference. But I saw her the other day, and she was completely upright. And wow, you've been working on that. She said, I have. I work at it every day. I mean, just showed what can be done. But you wouldn't have thought that that pull, which pulls the shoulders forwards, would work, but it does. And there was a man on the book study club the other day, and we were talking about the hamstring pull. And he said, well, you know, the hamstring pull tends to pull me forwards. And I said, well, are you anterior spine or posterior? And he said, well, I'm posterior. And I said, well, does the hamstring pull work then? He said, oh, yes, it does. So that was really interesting, because I hadn't heard somebody with that posterior pull actually get a benefit from the hamstring pull, but there it was. I haven't had too many people with posterior pulls, apart from my 90-year-old, who was so unaware he wasn't a good specimen to work with, except that iliac's back really made the difference to him. But I didn't try the hamstring pull with him. He wouldn't have got it. But so that was really interesting. So they all work on the say whatever the body's doing. Yeah. Any other comments?
Yeah, sometimes I think that you know, you also have to wait till the right moment for pulls has come, because for example, now working here in the training course, there's one person that had Alexander lessons before with a different teacher back in England, I don't know where, somewhere. And
oh, you're in Galway.
Yeah.
I just realized where you are.
Yes. And this he is very much, you know, up, chin a little bit up, nose a bit up, like up all the time. And it's, for me, I was just the whole time working on, okay, don't do that. So if I would add any pulls now when he's just pulling himself completely up, I don't know, because the pulling is going on all the time. So for the moment being, it's better to just, you know, let go of the pulling first, like what you told about Miss Goldie. I was talking actually a lot about you today, your experiences with Miss Goldie and so on. Yeah.
Really good. Yes. Yeah. I'm just down the road.
Yeah, I know.
They bring you from Germany. They don't bring me up from Clare. It's mad. There we go. Yeah. That's yeah, but they do know Jander's work there, so you know you can. I mean, some schools you'd have to be careful about the pulls, but you can introduce them there. But you're right, someone like that, it's like let go first.
Yeah,
absolutely. Are you having fun there?
Yeah. Small group, but it's nice. It's fun.
Right. Yeah, I'm sure. Okay, right. Anyone else want to comment, or are we?
Oh, I have one question, because this came up today. How did Miss Goldie put hands? Did she have a certain way? I mean, I know she was not, she was especially on inhibition work, but did she have a certain way of putting hands? I'm just curious.
I wouldn't like to say she had a certain way of doing anything. It was, she certainly used the step back and look that Alexander used, that Erica Whitaker used, where she would step back, 6 foot back and look at you. And then step in, and it would be very definite. Directions would already be going. So that as she stepped in,
Yeah.
Sometimes it would be taking you somewhere, and sometimes it would be, but the hands always had, there wasn't this sort of, well, just sort of put hands on and listen a bit.
Like this McDonald thing, like coming from here and here, and yeah.
Yes, I mean, the sort of, certainly though, if she was taking me out of the chair, it was a very firm grip. You know, with the, I certainly remember fingers going into my throat, and I think it was McDonald's finger who went up my nose, but they were not careful when they did that power, you know, they were going to power you out of the chair. They didn't care where they put their fingers. Sensitive hands, what sensitive hands? But and then a lot of the time she would have, they were very firm hands, I mean, very firm. And it would be this poking, of course, poking me on the
Poking.
Yeah. So, you know, they weren't delicate, gentle hands. But, you know, there was the day that she was pulling my head back so strongly that in the end I went dizzy on the train home. And she'd done it to me a couple of lessons. She was really pulling my head back. And I dared to tell her in the next session that I'd had a dizzy turn on the way home. So she told me off for 10 minutes that it was all my fault.
Oh dear.
She actually then was very gentle.
Yeah.
She gentled it up. So yeah. So I mean, she responded to the pupil. It was, I think, you know, had I really been a sensitive flower, not that really sensitive flowers survived her lessons, she probably would have gentled up further.
Yeah.
I don't know if that answers your question.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. Head away from hips, hips away from knees in the monkey. But very, very clear directions.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to play with arms today and a little bit on psoas just to get that going. So let's start. Have I got my specs? I have. And let's stand up. And that's just fine. Hips width apart, feet aligned. And your knees a shake. Just let one knee go, and then just gently think of that sort of leg up so that the leg straightens without tightening the quad. And the other one the same, just drop the knee and then just very un-Alexander, this one really. And just sending that heel, sending an up line up the leg. Can you hear me all right?
No, but I can't see what you're doing with your legs.
You can't see, right.
What you're doing with your legs.
I'm just, that better? I'm letting one knee, one go, and then sending it up from the heel, sending an up force up the leg, so that the leg gently straightens, but it stays free. The quad doesn't tighten. Does that make sense? We've done this before, and again, just let one leg go, and then gently just send it up from underneath. Send it up so that the leg stays free. Very physical move. And then step back again as we've done before. So we're stepping back onto a bent leg and then just tilting forwards, pivoting on the talus bone, the ankle bone. Keeping the front leg straight. That's it. And again, you'll notice when you do this, you could even bring your arms up. You'll notice how much lift you get out off the back leg doing this. The body, the back leg just pushes us up, and we just pivot on the front ankle. How little can you do with the foot? How much can you just let your foot be mush in the ground and really not respond with it? Just letting it melt onto the ground as you come forwards, being aware of all the ways in which you grip it and wriggle it, and how much can we just let that foot flatten onto the ground. And change feet. And again, we're bending back on the back leg, sitting down into the air, and then sending that back leg, sending the heel up. And just pivoting on that front ankle, and just playing with free ankles. How much can one pivot over the ankle without needing to make any response in the foot? Do the toes curl? Do the toes grab? Does the foot wobble? And just let it melt through into the ground. And then if you stand, again, just being aware of just being free in the ankles. Yeah. Nice. So let's just play with the atlanto-occipital, just finding that the pivot, the atlanto-occipital joint, just the nodding of that. And then just finding that center of gravity point behind the cheekbone. And just being aware that if that raindrop is much higher up and the nose feather is extending out, the head is now pivoting, it's actually rotating around that cheekbone rather than around just around the pivot. And then do we get a lengthening of the spine? Do we get a tractioning of the neck as the head comes back and up? The back of the head comes back and up, even as the whole head comes forward and up. Somehow there's a back and up in it as well. Because I think with this work we can end up with a little bit of the sort of almost a forward head. And we're not taking what we're not doing is strongly pulling the neck back, but we are keeping the back of the head coming back and up, following even as the middle of the head is going forwards and up, if that makes sense. Have I muddled you? Yeah. And just letting that forward and up carry on. Let the raindrop roll to take you into a little monkey. And up again. We don't need to bend the knees, but if we follow that forwards and up with the head, and the back and up, the back of the head tractions the back of the neck and the back and up, maybe the knees will just float away forwards without us having to do anything about bending the knees. The knees just flow away. And you find this, they just do bend. We don't have to do anything. And again, as we come up again, there's that sense of that flow up from the ground. Again, just helps to take us up. And it keeps going. Let's just find our vestibular directions, and let's play at finding them with hip lifts. So you think your up-down line, and then do a hip lift on the ground, thinking about the up line down through the second, the up line down, up down line through the center of us, even as we're doing a hip lift. So we're very aware then of the crown of the head and also the sesamoid bone. And ready, go the other way. Just again, keeping that sense of where the center line is through you. Now let's add in the side of that by putting the arms out to the side so we're aware of them. And then do the same thing. We're going with our up-down line. But you're also aware of the side line. We're just letting the upflow. We've got the side down. And then let's find the front back line with the nose feather and the sort of back occipital feather, as it were. So we're going to carry on doing hip lifts and let the head turn where it wants, and being aware that it is turning around the up-down axis, even as we're doing hip lifts, and keeping the sense of the sidelines. You okay, Anis?
But the sidelines, they are turning with the head?
Well, they are actually, aren't they? Exactly.
So it's confusing with the arms.
It is confusing with the arms at this point, true. You can use a book if you want. So yes, you leave the arms out if you want, but as you say, they turn with the head. And if you're using a book, keep the standing legs straight. Yes, it's a clearer sensation on book. Change legs whenever you need. And we're just finding that, again, keeping the stance legs straight. Okay. And then just being aware of that spatial awareness, just letting the nose feather, with or without the book at this point, with or without hip lifts, just finding that spatial awareness. Coming right from the back of the head, encompassing the whole room, encompassing behind you. Letting the detail come to you, just receiving the colors and the sights and the sounds and the textures and the shapes. And also the sounds and also the smells. And the temperature. And maybe a slight breeze, whatever there is to sense in your room. Just let it flow to you. You're flowing to it. And you're exchanging air with the room. Right from the base of you. Right from your feet. Right from the base of the torso, maybe even right from the feet. Exchanging air with the room, rippling. Like a jellyfish pulsing through the water. Is sending ripples through the whole ocean. So let's clarify our arm anatomy again. I think everybody's done this with me before, but it's always worth redoing. Let's just find the sternoclavicular joint first. And punching your shoulder forwards and back, which is, so the whole body stays still, that's right. That's lovely. So real definite movement. It's a real strong, it's a strong movement. This is not a movement you can do with thought. It's a very definite movement, that's right. Mary, make sure the rest of the body doesn't move. Rest of the body stays still. That's right. And the arm isn't turning either. It's just see if you can isolate the arm and just getting it happen from the shoulder itself. You could put your hand there if you want, and then you can't do anything with the rest of the arm. That's it. You just have to use the shoulder forwards and back. So we're swinging the clavicle on the sternum. And that's it. Yep. And it can also, of course, go up and down. And nothing is happening from the arm. We're not sort of doing anything from the arm and the elbow. We're just using the shoulder. How economically can we do this movement? That's it. Yeah. And it's really hauling the shoulder around, isn't it? It's a very strong movement. And then having a go with the other arm. And while it's not a move we particularly want to be doing, we do need this joint to be free because it is incorporated in movement. So we want it to be free and we want it to be able to isolate it. And up, down as well. Everybody okay with both of those? So you could do them alternately, which is quite a fun one. Can you take one forwards and the other one back without, that's right. So there's actually a slight twist happening in the torso, but the torso isn't going anywhere. Yeah, and then you might be able to take that into a shimmy. That's it. I think it's quite a strong movement. Yeah, quite a towering movement, I find. Okay. And so the next, the three rotations of the arm, a body mapper showed me a nice way of isolating the three movements of the three rotations of the arm. If you put your hand out to the side, you can turn the hand forward and back, and the rest of the arm doesn't move. And then you get the rotation of the lower arm on the elbow. And if you then stop with the hand down and rotate the elbow, you then get the rotation of the upper arm in the humerus joint. And actually, if you leave then the elbow up, you can then take the shoulder itself into a hunch. And then you've got the whole thing. So we've got the lower arm, the elbow, taking the upper arm, and then the shoulder. Yeah. Let's try the other arm. There's the lower arm. And the elbow. And then the shoulder. Shoulder raises and hunches. And you could take that into belly dancing snake arms, which is where you're really lifting the elbow to lift the arm. And the shoulders come too, and the whole thing just flows. It's a very nice movement to do. Okay, nice. And let's just shake off the arm now with a shake to the hands. And add in the lower arm, the whole arm. And come back to the shimmy. And then go back to the arms. Making sure the triceps is shaking too. And then go back to the shimmy. And back to the arms. And back to the shimmy. Does it get freer? Okay. So, has everybody got a stick? I don't suppose, can you put your hand on anything, Anadora?
Ta-ta.
Ah, well done. Hey, there's some lovely sticks everybody's got now. Yeah, okay. So put it across the top of the sternum and just have a look how close your shoulders are now on the stick. Are they on the stick or are they still slightly behind? Mine are about 1/4 of an inch behind at this point. So let's just do that shoulder punches from the shoulders to push the stick forwards first. What we were doing first, this push from the clavicle. So let's just do that one first to push the stick forwards and see what it feels like. And then doing one arm at a time, take the elbow outwards, forwards and down to bring the elbow onto the stick and even to push it slightly away. But we're not doing it by pushing the shoulder forwards. We're doing it by using the elbow as a lever on the back and just being clear of the difference that it feels, that you're aware of when you use, it's done from that tip of the elbow pull than when one does it by pushing the shoulder forwards. It's a different, quite a different experience. Would you agree? And the other arm again, just elbow outwards, forwards and down. To bring that onto the stick. And then see if one can do it both together. And actually the stick, when we get it, if we're absolutely on line, Jando says the stick is actually slightly in front of the sternum. So you're doing it from the elbows. Okay, and just breathe with it. Be aware of the shoulders, the shoulder blades breathing. And let's put the stick down. And just finding those both together. The sternum coming up away from the base of the knees, not just from the sitting bones, but so we've got that reverse hamstring pull. The backs of the knees pulling up to the sitting bones, sacrum, put the sternum pulling up from the sitting bones, right from the base of the knees. And this going on at the same time. Okay. And then let's just wake up the pulls we did the other week of the, again, the PSIS, the posterior iliac spines coming round to the front iliac spines. And again, the backs of the knees pulling up to the sitting bones and the pubicoccygeals forwards, and give that a 3. Just finding our spatial awareness for a moment. And then just 1, 2, 3. And then let's add in the upper body as well. And somebody pointed out the other day that we've always done the elbow before the sternum, but really the top of the sternum should come first, because it just again focuses that upline, opens the upline of the body around which those move. So just play with doing it that way around and see whether you notice a difference. If you think elbows, then wrists, then top of sternum. Let's just do that one first. Elbows, wrist, top of sternum. Might be there. And then just think it the other way around. I pull the top of the sternum away from the sitting bones, from the base of the knees. Pull the elbows outwards and forwards and down there. Pull the wrists back. 1, 2, 3. Is there a difference? Anyone like to say anything there?
I don't know if it's just that I'm used to doing it the other way, but if I do the sternum first, it's kind of out of balance, because when I do the elbows first, the moment that I think of the sternum, it all becomes kind of, I don't know how to explain it, but balanced. Yeah. Otherwise, the sternum first sort of threw me out of. I don't know.
Thank you. That's good. Yes, thank you for sharing. Micah, did you want to?
For me, it's actually helpful because I feel less engagement in the trapezius when I point the sternum first. And that's, for me, it took a while to get really the trapezius out of the way in the pose. When I think this first, and I have maybe also a slight tendency to that. So thinking the sternum first is very helpful for me, and also actually for my pupils. I was playing a lot recently with this joint, and to feel the movement of the ribs sideways, to open this whole area first, and then come back to the elbow pose. So it's somewhat fascinating.
Yes, thank you. I think what you're saying echoes my experience, but it's interesting to hear that it's not the same for everybody. Yes. Yeah. Anyone else wanted to comment on that? Sazuyuki, did you have something you wanted to?
Clavicle movement liberates the mobility of this part.
Yes.
The stick, my shoulder touches the stick, and the whole point is on the same line. And,
oh, good.
And scapula separate away, and my back is opening. That's very comfortable. Thank you.
That's nice. So that came out of doing these shoulder punches. Yeah, it's great to loosen off that joint. Great.
And the shimmy is good movement. Thank you.
Yes, they're not Alexander, but they're fantastic things to do. Yeah, Alison.
I like the idea of teaching the sternum forward and up before the elbows, because I think that makes a big difference then when the elbows come in. Of course, when we do them, we're doing everything together, so it's happening all at once. I did have a question for you. related to, yeah, sorry, carry on.
Jando still says that the order in which you say the pulls, even so, still makes a difference. And I haven't always been aware of that, but in this moment, I actually am.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Excuse me, the tone was a bit bad. What did John Doe say?
He said that the order in which you say the pulls actually makes a difference. So it's not something I've played
Well,
with.
I felt
Yeah. Alison, you carry on first.
Yes, and this might not be appropriate because it's just to my.
I felt that
Hang on, Anadora. Let's Alison speak first.
my internet is shaky. Sorry.
Okay.
No, I just wanted to say, if I go first with the sternum, it can throw me a little bit out, like back, but then when the elbows kick in, it balances itself somehow. But then it's in a way easier to find, as if the elbows go first, and then I have to somehow find it, and then this is very much emphasized, and then I come in and stays there in a way.
Yeah. So I mean, what one has to be careful with the sternum, that it doesn't pull that way, that it does pull that way.
Yeah.
Good. Thank you. Yes. Alison, carry on.
That's okay. My quick question is that my shoulders are, one touches the stick and one's about 2 fingers away. And I'm never sure whether I should just pull more with the one that's further back or whether the twist is actually in the rib cage. But then that seems that would perhaps I'd still need to bring back, because if I then twist the rib cage, it's the whole thing that comes. So.
Well, if you put a stick across here, is it twisted?
Well, I haven't got anything else to measure with against.
No, but I mean, does it look, if you put that equally on your two bits, does it look like one is forwards for the other?
No, I think it actually looks as if it's the opposite way to the shoulders, if anything.
Right. Interesting.
Yeah, because this shoulder is further forward and this side of the stick seems further back. But oh no, that's just the way I was holding it.
Yeah.
So no, I don't think the rib cage is.
The rib cage is still. So here's a stronger pull for you, which is to take the elbow out to the side. And then take hold of the elbow with your other hand and bring the elbow forwards at the same time as you take the wrist back.
Right.
So don't fly your hand back, just let your hand flop, but that's it. And now breathe with it. So keep the shoulder down, don't let the shoulder go up. And if you get this right, you get a really strong pull. So if you can start again and make sure that the shoulder isn't going up at all. The elbow is just going outwards and forwards and down. And then bring the hand back on the shoulder and pull on that tip of the elbow so that you're putting even more traction across the back.
Ah, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I can really feel this pulling into my tight trapezius. And oh gosh, yes, there goes something. It's a strong move.
Yes.
And how is that now?
Yes, that's made a difference to that side. Yeah.
Yes, it's one to use with caution, that, but in that, you wouldn't want to hand that one willy-nilly to pupils without knowing their history, as it were. But I have done it with pupils who had very, very tight shoulders. And so I'm just doing my other arm, which is really very tight at the moment.
So you're pulling out your elbow that way and resisting the pull forward with your hand?
That's right. So I'm really taking that point of the wrist back at the same time as so it's the point, it's the wrist rather than the hand. It's that point, that top of the wrist that I'm taking back. So I'm really putting a resistance pull against. And again, I can feel that trapezius really being challenged. Yeah, now that arm goes higher. It only went to there a few minutes ago. Oh yeah, that feels better. I must do that more often. Yeah, okay. So anyone else want to comment on that one? Hannes?
On the sternum direction before the elbows, we had the discussion about origin and insertion, and isn't the order of the pulse changing, which is the origin? Anyway, so my feeling is doing the sternum first does stabilize the center, and shoulders and elbows away.
Yeah.
And it's giving an opening of the back like this. And if I start with my elbows opening, it's like my shoulders are pulling me out.
Yes, yes, that's why I like it, that it gives a reference frame, doesn't it? It gives a long
Yeah.
reference frame around which the shoulders then open.
Yeah, and it fits to what Micah said. If you're more stable, you can leave your trapezius more away, alone.
Yeah, yeah,
And so this is my feeling too.
yeah. So, oh, good, interesting. Thank you.
Like stabilizing and opening away from it, something
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah, right, because it's all opening out of the midline, and we're not getting drawn into the elbows if we're already up here. Yeah.
I think, sorry, there's also another thing I experienced with one pupil who has a hunchback like that. And I'm doing the pose with her, but she always has the problem that the belly really is contracting. And so this, coming back to this sternum clavicular joint and to this opening here, is also helping. Yeah, it's stabilizing, but it's also I mean, and what did I want to say? I'm so tired. Yeah, in a way, it's also. I mean, it can happen with a pose the other way around. When I start with the elbows, that it's kind of bringing the ribs back and up, but also that it's kind of
Yes,
to pull in here. And so she really has an issue with that. So I'm looking for a way how to not make her pushing up, but still
keep her out of it. Yes.
keep the widening happening. Kind of.
Yeah, interesting challenge. Yeah. And this one. I'm going to use this one with her. Remember this one? Again, because here's the forwards and up.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good, lovely. So let's do some arm lifts. Just finding the ribs, breathing at the side of the armpit. We've all done this before again. And then when the ribs are breathing nicely, just sending the fingertips away down. So again, being aware that the vestibular direction's going up and the fingers going down. And the elbows, the ribs going out. And still the PSIS is coming around to the ASAS. And then the fingers lead away to come up. And then rotating at halfway, letting the little fingers lead. Checking that the ribs are still breathing. Letting the little fingers and the elbow, also the outside of the elbow again, continue to lead away. Ribs still breathing until the arm can come right overhead. And if there's any sense of tightening into the neck, you've gone too far for you. Come down a bit and see if you can find that arm easing up out of the back so that it really can come. You're lucky it can come vertical. But if your arm at the moment can't come vertical, that's fine too. Just keep easing it up out of the back. That's where the arm is coming from. Lowering the arm, keeping the vestibular directions going up, so we're never dropping. That's right. Letting that hand come round, let it be delicate. It's finding the breath into the arms, the fingers lengthening away down. And then the fingers leading. Still the breath. So we've got the opposition between the breath in the armpits and the fingers leading. Fingers turn. And still the breath is leading in, this breath is in the armpits, the fingers are leading up, the tip of the elbow is leading up. Everything can extend and extend and extend like you've got a giant over the top of you, pulling on your fingertips. And your neck is completely free. You can just give it a netty quite easily. That's it. There's no restriction into the neck. And still the ribs are breathing. And again, floating the arm down with the straight arm, letting the fingers extend away down. And let's just do some arm stretches of, if we take the top of the sternum up away from the tip of the elbow down. And keeping the elbow forwards, don't let it fall back, otherwise you'll fall over backwards. The top of the sternum is coming forwards and up. The elbow is still coming forwards, even as we're taking it down. And then top of sternum up and thumb down. And then top of sternum up and little finger down. And now all three together. Tip of elbow, thumb, and little finger, giving us the ulnar deviation. And with the other hand, top of sternum up and elbow down, forwards out and down away from the top of the sternum. Thumb down away from top of sternum up away from thumb. And little finger down away from top of sternum up away from little finger. And all three together. And then all six together, and the sternum going in the other direction. Just being aware of whether that opens the chest at all, what you're aware of. Breathing with it. Again, it's a strong stretch. And just let it soften. Let's say relax, because when we say relax, we tend to throw it all away, but just letting it soften. And then let's find your book again on the floor for the hip lift. And the stance leg is straight. We start with the distorted hip, of course, with one hip lower. And then again, just sending that fingertips away as you do your hip lift. And then carry on with we've got the arm right overhead. Hip lift again, send the fingertips up in the air so that you are drawn up onto tiptoes by the fingertips. Hip lift down, fingertips up, and between the two, they draw you up like a ballerina. So you could just go for a fly. Right with the other arm.
Excuse me, where do you have the book?
I've got the book. I can't see it. So it's I'm standing on it in the usual hip lift sort of way. Can you see it now? So it's just underneath.
Ah, so this arm comes up. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's the same arm as leg on the book. And then the fingertip leading up is leading the foot on the book, not merely to extend up off the hip, but to extend right up off the heel as well. The fingertip leads you up in the air, just draws you onto your toes in a way that's much easier than if you just sort of push up and down from the heel. It's quite hard work in comparison. Just try that. Just try pushing just from the heel. It's hard work, but being drawn by the arm, and suddenly it's easy. Right, on the other side. And again, we've got the hip lift. We've got the breath in the arm. Just taking the hand up, rotating it. Taking the hand up, and then hip lift down. Arm lengthens away up. The fingertips are drawn up, and it draws you up onto your toes. Nice. So let's we talked about screwing the ankle this time, so we'll just
May I ask a very quick question?
Yes, of
When
course.
we're doing those, we're wanting the thumb not to raise as we
Yes,
come up.
that's right.
But does and I know that the ribs don't want to raise, but should the breast tissue come up, or does that whole breast tissue stay in place?
My breast tissue isn't coming up.
Yeah,
Is
so that's what I thought. I suspected that when I feel the breast tissue moving, that there's actually a slight movement in the ribs.
I think there has to be, because the breast tissue would be on the ribs. So if the breasts come up, we've done a page 3 number, as I call it.
Right. Thank you for that clarification. That's great.
You remember page 3. It's quite I think. Yes. Let's go into a forward bend. So and when we take both hands, up, again, the back, it doesn't arch. So just finding that breath into the ribs and being aware of the fingertips lengthening away down. And then the underside of the fingertips is just lengthening away so that the back can continue to adjust, so that the back doesn't have to arch. The ribs can readjust and the whole body can come up into fully lengthened. And coming down again, just being aware of, so just waiting for everybody to catch up. So we'll just take arms down again. Again, being aware of the head lengthening up. Okay, Kazuyuki. And then up we go again. Again, fingertips lengthening away down. Vestibular directions in play. The arms come up. The arms can rotate if they need. No correct way that I know for a forward bend. The hands can be facing each other or they can be facing forward. I don't think it matters. Whichever works for your body. And just stay in that upright stance for a moment and breathe. Just being aware of that whole upper chest widening at the back and the front. PSIS is coming around to the ASIS. We've still got that lower body pulls in place as well. And then we're getting that little forwards and up rotation of the skull around the center of gravity, which is beginning, and the nose feather is beginning to tickle our gaze down, following a ladybird maybe. And the head stays between the elbows, the arms stay long, and the head stays between the elbows, and just go as far as you can into flat back, wherever flat back is for you. And you're still keeping that PSAS coming round to the ASAS, which is itself pulling the tummy back and keeping the torso engaged up off the hips. So, and then when you're ready, just let the head drop down and the arms drop down. Let the head completely hang so that the weight of the head is tractioning you down, but still the PSAS is coming round to the ASAS so that the belly is pulling back and up, and so the hips are not collapsing. You'll see on the video after there, I'm collapsing onto the hips, whereas if this is happening, I'm not. So let's bring the finger, let's come up again by lengthening the fingertips away. You might walk them a little bit along the mat until the arms straighten and they connect the ears between the elbows, and keep sending the fingertips away. The head from the back comes with it until we unfold. And just bring the arms down again for a moment. Everybody clear on that process? Everybody okay with that? Yeah, good. So let's go again. And just again, being aware of the chest and the back all widening, fingertips lengthening way down, and up come the hands. They're floating up, away from the armpits, away from the backs of the armpits perhaps. Letting them float right overhead, the back adjusts moment by moment so that it does not have to arch. Stay there a moment and let the breath happen. Being aware of those posterior iliac spines coming round to the front iliac spines, pubococcygeals forwards, and let that raindrop, the nose feather, the little ladybird, lead the head to lead the back, and the fingertips are leading, and the eyes are leading into flat back. Just stop in flat back a minute, wherever that is for you. Just take a breath, being aware that still the tummy is back because the PSAS is coming around to the ASAS. And then on the next out breath, let the head drop down and the hands drop down. Head completely hangs, but the thoracic lumbar fascia is still working. The belly is still being pulled back and up by the PSAS coming round to the ASAS. That transverse abdominis working the belly is still holding the hips really firmly. And now let your head and your fingertips lengthen away a little bit. Just let the fingertips collect the ears and then let them come down again. On the next out breath, just release down again. And then again on the next in breath, let them lengthen away. Fingertips walk a little way along the mat. The head extends out of the neck, out of the upper back, until the upper back comes to straight, maybe coming towards flat back. And then again on the next out breath, let it come down, back down to the forward bend. And then again, the fingertips lengthening away. Head lengthening, whole spine lengthening. Everything drawing forwards, opposed by the iliac spines thinking back until we come right up and standing and down again. And we're going to do the same again. This time we're going to walk forwards into plank. I'll just show you briefly. We've done this before, I think, maybe not in the advanced class, I can't remember. So we're coming down into forward bend. We're just walking forwards into plank and keeping my heels down as long as possible, and then letting everything extend. Of course, here everything is working to keep these back, and then walking back again. And we'll do that a couple of times, and then we'll do it the other way around, where from there we're going to tiptoe the toes in instead. So let's start again. So just letting those fingertips lengthen down. And then let the fingertips begin to lead. Being aware of that breathing across the shoulder blades, across the rib cage, the back of the rib cage, the back just dropping way down if it needs, so that nothing arches, hands stretching up, whole side of the body is stretching up. Free breath in the back. Find those posterior spines pulling to the anterior spines so that the belly is pulled back as the ladybird begins to walk and the head leads the body forwards on a tilt, opposed at the iliac spines. Come to flat back and just stay there a moment and breathe. Finding that expansion in the whole back, still the working of the iliac spines of the thoracolumbar fascia. And then let the head and the hands release down. Still the iliac spines are coming back. But they're coming back by the posterior spines coming forward to the anterior iliac spines. Not as neat to say as it used to be. And then letting everything just lengthen forwards until the hands can come to the mat and you can begin to walk yourself forward. But keep your heels on the mat as long as you can. And let your hands go delicately like a cat. The hands are the heels are releasing up first, and then the knuckles, and then finally the fingers. So take it as slow as you can down into plank. A lovely slow process of reaching plank, as slow as you can. And once you're in plank, really working to keep those posterior iliac spines coming forward to the anterior iliac spines, and also the elbows coming outwards and forwards and down, and the hands sending away down into the mat, and the head sending forwards, and the heels sending back. And then we're going to walk back again. Send your heels back, and send the knuckles of your hand, the underside of your knuckles, away from you, so that you can begin to push back with your fingers and your hands. But not the heel of the hand so much as the knuckle of the hand. And just pushing back into forward bend. Just stay there a moment and breathe. Still working those posterior iliac spines, around to the anterior iliac spines. Be aware of the whole bum breathing, the whole backside is breathing. Screwing the ankles. Don't let the knees fall in. Don't let the ankles fall in or the knees fall in. And again, let's just walk forwards again very slowly, gently taking the weight onto the hands more and more, and letting the hands release away like a cat. The heel lifts up, the hand peels up. The hand peels up. The hand peels up until we come into plank. And again, the heels are coming away from the head. The iliac spines are all working. And now walk your feet, this time towards your hands. Very slowly, again, working those spines, iliac spines, posterior and anterior. And just be aware, so you're going as high on tiptoe as you can. As you get closer to yourself, be as high on tiptoe as you can. And walk as slowly as you can. Walk your feet into your hands. And then when you're there, let your fingertips lengthen away. Collect the elbows, the head between your elbows, and up you come. Okay. Any questions, or are you okay? So, everyone okay? We'll lie down on the floor at this moment, unless you've got something you need to ask. So let's lie down on the floor at this point, and you want room behind your head. So we're just going to come into semi-supine and do the arm raises from semi-supine. So just finding your vestibular directions in semi-supine and the breath. Maybe just let's have the thought about the elbows away from the top of the sternum and the thumbs away from the top of the sternum and the little fingers away from the top of the sternum. Never tried this before in this position. It's quite interesting. The hands have to come off the mat a little, I think, to do it. And then let's lengthen the fingers away and the underside of the fingers coming away to let the whole thing come up overhead. You may want to do one arm at a time to check that the ribs don't follow. It's easy to check here that the ribs don't follow. You can hold your opposite ribs if you need. And then the fingers leading away, the underside of the fingers, which when you're behind your head is the upper surface of the fingers leading away, to bring the hand back down again. So take your time and only go as far as your hand will go. And if you end up hovering above the mat, then that's okay. So just take it in your own time, doing one arm and then the other. Use your hand on a rib cage if you need to check that the ribs don't lift. And have awareness of your shoulder blades breathing. Let's do it again and see if you can notice that as you bring the arm up, fingertips leading the underside of the hand leading away, you might be aware that as you come up, the shoulder blade rotates. It quite changes angle. And just allowing that to happen. And how is the breathing then? When that happens with one shoulder blade up and the other shoulder blade down, is that a different sensation? And the breath, and then sending the hand to come down again, being aware of the shoulder blade rotating to come back again. It does quite a movement. And same on the other side, just being aware of that shoulder blade making a rotation to let the hand come above the head. Does that facilitate more opening of the shoulders for you? And then trying both together. Again, be aware of both shoulders rotating. Be aware of the arms being supported by the fingers leading along the underside. So whichever side is the non-obvious one to lead. So whichever is the opposite side to the direction is the side that's leading. And still the up down through the head, through the center line of the body. That maintains its up down line, and the arms are moving around that. The shoulder blades are rotating so that the whole shoulder girdle comes open. The next time your arms are above your head, let's just gently. Okay, so coming back to the arms above the head, your feet are down, and we're going to go into a little bridge. So just letting thinking of the psoas coming up and back. Oh, actually, bring the arms down first. Sorry. Bring the arms down first. And let's just find the psoas with a nice physical trick I've learned, which is to pick one foot up, one leg up, and give it a push with your arm, with your hand. So you're pushing on your thigh, and feel that that actually flattens the spine. It engages the psoas. As the psoas is sort of holding the flex against the push. We're resisting actually with the psoas, because in this position, we're not resisting with the quad. It's the psoas actually doing the work there. Try it with the other arm. It's the pushing away with the hand, resisting with the leg. And we've actually got the psoas there. And then let it pull the legs in. Being aware of that back and up on the out breath, pulling the legs in. And resisting the in-breath, resisting them going away on the in-breath. So that the psoas has to stay engaged on the in-breath. And each time you breathe out, you might get the legs a little closer as a result. The psoas has to stay engaged on the in-breath. And then gently lowering those legs back to the floor, keeping that psoas engaged, whether the legs are on the out breath or the in-breath, taking one at a time. Keeping that engagement with the psoas. Landing the feet flat on the floor when you're ready, being aware of them coming up to meet you now. There's a connection now between your legs and your back. Now we're going to send those hands away again. Bring the hands back up overhead. Letting the shoulder blades rotate and open. And then on the next out breath, belly drawing up and back and up and back. Pubic coming forwards. And the legs releasing way down, just as if we'd still got hands pushing them. So that the hands, the feet are landing on the floor, even as the belly is just, the bum is just happily rising up in the air. And still being aware of that widening at the shoulders, of the fact that the shoulders have rotated back and there is an opening there, so that you're supported on your shoulder blades or even above your shoulder blades and your soles of your feet. And everything between them is going in the other direction. So your knees are going away down towards your feet. Your belly is pouring back and up along the spine, drawn with the psoas on the out breath. No tightening into the back, no tightening into the buttocks. We're sending the front of the shins down to the toes and letting the belly come back and up on the out breath. And then on the next in-breath, send the breath down into the pelvic floor and stretch your pelvis down towards your heels as you bring the back down to the floor again. And then on the next out breath, bring the arms down. And we'll do that one more time. Fingers lengthening away on the in-breath, bringing the arms overhead. Being aware of that rotation of the shoulders so that the arms can open back onto the floor behind you. On the next out breath, drawing the belly back and up, drawing the psoas into play, pubic forwards, and the backside lifts, just floats up into the air. And now sending the knees away down to the ground, to the feet, feet firmly on the mat. Opening the in-breath into the shoulders. The psoas pulling up and back so that the belly is falling back and up. Not letting the knees fall out, keeping the ankles gently screwed if you can. It's probably quite hard to think that in this position, but not letting the knees fall either out or in. The belly falling back and up. And then on the next in-breath, sending the breath down into the pelvic floor, thumbs towards the heels. So the whole back stretches back down onto the floor. And on the next out breath, bringing the arms down. And let's roll over. Let's just do a couple of more things for shoulders before we finish. We want to roll over into child's pose. With your hands stretched in front of you in child's pose, we're just going to crawl. I'll demonstrate. We're just going to crawl our fingers along the floor with the knuckles really drawing that extension of the hand rather than the underside gripping. So it's the knuckles are drawing the shoulders away. Just being aware of giving the back a jolly good stretch with that and then letting it relax again, and then you could do it one arm at a time. Just playing with that for a moment. You could even do one and then give everything a bit of a rock. And the other one, letting the knuckles, the fingertips and the knuckles pull away, and then rocking the head and the hips. While the fingertips still pull the shoulder away. And then try them both together again. And then fingertips leading, head leading, to come up into all fours. And we just finished with coming back into plank. And again, sending the PSIS round to the ASIS, the elbows strongly down to the hands. And then we're going to release the body down between the shoulder blades and then push back up again. It's a sort of shoulder blade press up this. So we are sending those elbows away. And then you let the torso sink down, but not the hips. Just let the torso sink, the rib cage sink down between the shoulders, and then press up again out of the elbows, out of the hands. Sink down and press up. And sink down and press up. And sink down and press up. Do as many as you are comfortable doing. And then we're going to walk the toes in again towards the feet, towards the hands, and fingers lead. Stand up again and come back to the mat. Maybe just do some arm lifts just to balance up your arms after that last strong one. So, anyone like to comment? Your arms and shoulders feel worked. Good.
I loved the way that it was effortless to lift the pelvis when we went into a bridge, that it just came up. and I'm finding that my shoulders and arms are a little looser. I can't quite as yet get them to where they're right above my ears, but today I got them much closer without tightening, which was lovely.
That's nice. Yeah, lovely. Yes, and say my left shoulder is restricted. I need to do a lot more of this. I don't know what's happened to it, but there we go. These things happen. They come and go. Micah.
I have two things to to say. The first is that since we did this in April, I think we started doing the forward bend and lifting into flat back and down again, and it has changed so immensely that and especially with the PSIS to the front, I can feel my lower back breathing. The whole back can breathe into the buttocks, and this is just wonderful. It's just such a big difference for me than when we started in April. I have been practicing this for quite frequently.
Brilliant.
And the other thing is that I have a little inflammation in my shoulder joint, and I have no idea where this comes from for quite a while now. And so I was very cautious today with all these things, but actually it worked. It worked. I'm completely surprised that I could actually do this with keeping the directions very precisely. And yeah, I mean, it has been work now. I can feel it, but still, it didn't really hurt.
That's great. That's really good. Yes, the precision of directions are so important, aren't they?
Yeah.
Isn't it interesting the way that you wouldn't think that the working the iliac spine pulls in the other way round would work in those positions, but it does, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah. It's just a bit more of a mouthful to say. Yes, Hannes.
Yeah, same with me. PSIS forward, especially in flat back, together with pubicoccygeals forward, was engaging, I think, gluteus in a very special way, it was very difficult to think PSIS forward and anterior ones back, and to this picture, including the coccyx forward. But as I got it, it was there. My butt appeared. Yeah, very interesting. And so in the lying down posture, the rotation of the shoulder blades and together with a bridge was an opening in this part back here. Very good, something very new, a new opening which I didn't get before in a very difficult area for me. So like the rotation of the shoulder blades, and maybe the connection from all through the whole body, from the fingertips to the big toe, helped opening this area out.
Yeah. Lovely, nice.
And same with Alison said, the lightness of the lift of the bridge. So I was just concentrating on other parts, but the pelvis went up.
Yeah, I mean, the standard way it's done, which is all about gripping your bum and sending it up, is just it's so cruel on the body. This is just easy. Yeah.
And I found out with other things, if you get the directions which are difficult to think because they are very opposite and they are contradictory in a way, but if you get it, then the lightness comes.
Yes, absolutely. Just stretches everything, makes space, and the body just moves. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Mari, how was that?
Great. My arms, lying down, my arms went further than they've ever gone. And also in child's pose, crawling forward. That was the first time I was ever able to reach my arms forward. It's really opened there a lot more. Yeah, it's great. I have one question about the step back that you did at the beginning and also at the beginning of the first class. And then coming back forward again.
You watched the first video, have you?
Yeah, I've just gotten through a bit of it. But as we come back on that back foot and then push forward from it, I have an issue with I'm getting arthritis in my hallus, and it doesn't hurt, but it sticks. And a client has a similar issue too. So I'm just wondering if you have any thoughts on that bend of the foot at the metatarsal here.
Where this came from, I'm working with this man who actually I've been working with for 16 years, and he's always had a right foot that simply didn't bend, and I've been aware of it, and he's finally ready to deal with it. And the reason he's ready to deal with it, apart from the fact he's way further on and saying, okay, what's my next challenge? And it arrived, he said he was aware there was another layer he could go to, but he didn't know what it was. And what happened was his Achilles tendon started to really play up. And he was in a lot of pain and it was swollen. And I said, well, you know, that's this right foot that doesn't move. And so finally, we're doing loads of work on getting his big toe joint. I mean, his big toe joint does not work. It has no push in it. It's extraordinary.
Yeah, that happens for many people, I think.
Yeah, there is. I mean, we've now got a bend in it. But if I do that thing of actually, you know, lift the heel and push forwards, there's no downforce. Whereas his other foot,
Sorry, there's no what?
there's no downforce. If you do that with your hand and then push forwards, it doesn't slide because a downforce comes. And it's the same with the foot. When we get the toe push, the forward push creates a downforce, which creates friction, which stops the foot moving. And he cannot find that downforce yet in that foot. We're beginning to get it, but only if I'm uncurling his toes and pushing things and lifting things at the same time, then it starts to happen. So I developed this one for him because he needs to open up this whole area. And along with this, it's turned out that this area of the front of the ankle is really tight. And I think it's the whole thing. You know, one could say it's just the big toe, but it's not. So the first time he did this exercise, he was literally yelling of this stepping back, and he was all over the shop as well. He was like this, and he couldn't balance it, and really finding it very, very painful. And I'm afraid I was very cruel, and I persevered. And we got him doing a hip lift through it, so that thinking that up, and that enabled him to stay up. And within a few weeks, he's able to do it. And he's now, for the first time, he's always stood in like this. And I measured him this week, and he's actually on the unity line. And I think that's come out of that move. So softly. I read a guideline today, Philip Shepherd's new book, which is Deep Fitness, has some very interesting stuff in it. I'll talk more about it. I'm just rereading it again. At some point, I'll put it together and do something for you all on it. But there's one point where they worked with arthritis people, and the rule was, if the pain reaches more than 5 on a scale of 0 to 10, take it back. Expect pain, but don't let it go more than 5. And I thought that was quite a nice way of saying it. Does that fit with your pain seminar stuff, as it were?
It does, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. So how does that sound? I mean, does that sound useful? So play with it, see whether it feels a useful move. But it's absolutely crucial that if you do it, this stays, you know, you're not doing that or that or that, or you really are getting that direct bend, and don't bend any further than is possible, but you really are opening up that whole area. So, but if it's, you know, tell me how you go on, see whether it's a useful move or not.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, okay. Any other questions? Effie, yes.
Yeah, no question. The work on the pelvis and the posterior to the anterior for me is, when I think of it, it's a whole different universe than when I don't think of it, because I have a very flexible spine and my pelvis is very it's easy for it to tilt forward. So it really, yeah, from the last session you did, I was not there, I worked through it. And
yeah, it gave me somehow a more complete picture of the pelvis. Where is the back? Where's the front? And that these two are actually together. So it's really great. And also working with the breathing through the feet, in and out through the pelvic floor. I did this, it just came to me integrating through the whole session, and it really actually worked really well to keep stable while working with the arms and the back. So yeah, it worked really well.
Yes.
Well, thank you.
Yes, I forgot to say that one today. There was enough to get in. Yeah. Lovely. Thank you. Anyone else want to say anything before we finish? Mary.
Yeah, that's the first time I've brought in the posterior iliac spines, and that really made sense to think of those bony landmarks wrapping around.
Oh,
because
yes.
I've always had trouble with that sense of what you've talked about, that fanning, but that really makes sense to me.
Yes, you hadn't heard me talk about that one before, of course. Have
No,
you?
that was new to me.
That's new. Yeah, you'll find it done in detail in, was it last one or the one before, I think? The third session, I think it was.
Okay.
That I talked that through in detail.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'll get through 'em.
Yeah. Okay, we'd better finish there. So lovely to see you all, and see you in 2 weeks' time. Will you
Thank
be
you.
there, Alison? Are
Bye.
you able to join in?
Yes,
Great.
yes. I can join in right until January. When we start in January, I'm going to be teaching.
Right. Okay. Oh, well, that's marvelous. You can do this whole term. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. See you then.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Oh, regards to Richard. Anadora, give my regards to Richard. Thank
Yeah, I will. Thanks. Bye.